You Schwarzkopf life. You gonna stay in here with me? Okay, well I'm gonna close this. And if you want to go out, just squeak. Or you can come and see the beautiful people. Evening, everyone. Welcome to the latest live stream number 2 of 2025. And you want to go out. Say bye. Oh, you just want to sit half in, half out. What do you want to do? Oh my gosh. Okay, bye-bye. Mind your nose. Oh, poor cat. Typical cat doesn't really know what it wants to do. Wants to be 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and whatever you want to do, the cat's going to make sure that you don't do it. So yeah. And we've got 2 other cats in here. One of them is actually a little bit poorly at the moment, so I'm just keeping an eye on her up there with her food. She's on a cat tower. If I could turn this whole contraption around, you'll be able to see like she's sleeping on this giant tower that we have, and it's got all these like little homes and houses inside it, so the cats can like have their privacy and they can sleep. It's like house in a house essentially. But yeah, poor little one. She's not been feeling too well, so she had an operation, got herself snipped and sorted, or the female equivalent of being snipped. She had her ovaries taken out, so she's up there now just chilling and relaxing. And she's got her other little cat, her daughter, up there, keeping an eye on her. So nice to see. But as I was saying, this second live stream of 2025, live streams have been a little bit slow just because I've been so busy just outside of YouTube. I've not had that much time to actually do anything with the YouTube channel, not as much as what I'd like. And that's just because I've been so busy on other areas of my life. So I've got lots of videos which I did at the end of last year, foreseeing it was going to be really busy this year. So I basically edited a whole load of videos in one go, and I've got those all scheduled in. So they're still going to be coming out, which will probably give the illusion that actually, yeah, I'm still very much active on my YouTube channel. But those were actually edited like a month, 2 months ago, and they've just been scheduled in to come out around like nowish. I was due to go out and do some videos today. I liaised with Gemini member number 2 and said, would you be up for like helping with some videos? And going on the latest poll, which I did, about what kind of video content viewers would like, I decided actually I was going to do some videos about Husinsu, which is basically the Korean version of like self-defense stuff, using from both like Taekwondo, Hapkido, various other different Korean martial arts. And we were going to go out today and actually do a whole load of videos based on self-defense, traditional stuff and contemporary stuff. It was going to be stuff like wrist grabs, which is very traditional. Nobody in this day and age, if they're going to mug you, is going to grab your wrist. Not in the traditional sense anyway. So we're going to do a lot of those anyway, just from a traditional aspect. We're also as well going to do stuff like defense from bear hugs. So going a little bit more contemporary. It was going to be like double collar grabs, single collar grabs, collar grab with somebody coming in to assault you with a fist attack or what have you. So it was going to cover quite a lot. And I thought that's great. I give like loads and loads of footage. And it's always nice actually when I do videos as well with somebody else. I like to think whenever you do videos with somebody else, it makes it look, the viewers can actually see what you're trying to tell them or you're trying to teach them. Whereas if it's just you by yourself, one of the greatest difficulties I find with my videos, if it's just me out there and I'll be saying stuff like, hey, I show you how to do this technique, or this technique may look like this, but actually I think it looks like this, or it's meant to be this. But of course, I've got nobody to then demonstrate on. So viewers will then have to use their imaginations, and people generally don't like doing that because, one, a lot of people I feel go to YouTube to learn things or to relax. And I feel that if somebody comes onto your channel, they want to see something and relax, just chill out at the end of the day. They don't necessarily want to be having cognitive workload. I suppose to put it in a psychological context, people generally are cognitive misers. And I know that's debatable. I don't see that with any disrespect to anybody or anything, but studies have shown people, for the most part, generally don't like to kind of have to think. And again, I don't mean that in a derogatory sense or anything like that, but it's just a case of it'll be easier really if I just showed you techniques with a partner, with an uki, then the technique would make much more sense as opposed it's just me doing something and saying, oh, you've got to use your imagination and imagine you've got an opponent here, imagine opponent's doing this, imagine your opponent's doing that. No, it's just easier if I just got a partner. We were also as well going to go and I'd planned for us to do some like leg grab techniques because I remember doing a poll ages ago where I basically said if people would actually like to see a video like defense against kicks, like somebody tries to kick you, whether it's a Muay Thai. So I got fluff all over my t-shirt from the cats. Ugh. Haven't worn this t-shirt for a very long time. Where can I get that little bit? There we go. Where was I? What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. So I put out a poll ages ago all about if people would actually like to see videos against leg attacks, like defenses against various different leg attacks, low level, midsection as well. So it'll be like a leg defense. If you're taking from a Thai boxing perspective or a Kyokushin, somebody comes in to kick you low, you lift up your leg to check and show defenses from that way, which I know quite a few. And I thought this is material which I can make videos on with a partner and put out there and people can learn from them. But also like kicks to the body. So somebody goes for like a roundhouse kick or a front kick, maigeri, mawashi geri, and that leg has been grabbed. And then what can you do as a defender? You've grabbed that kick. What can you do? So it was going to be videos following on from that basically, which again I know quite a lot of. So I thought that'll give a huge amount of material to put into videos, huge amount of material for people to then play around with, take off to their own learning, take off to their own training, implement it in their gyms, their dojos, and take it from there. And I looked and thought that could actually be it would have been a really cool day of training, but also getting loads of content out. And this is the trouble which I've had over, like, I'd say quite a while now, is actually being able to actually find somebody who is willing to be able to do that. You can go off and ask somebody, look, would you mind if I could borrow you for a few hours and this is what I plan to do? But if they don't necessarily know themselves what you want to do, it's always a little bit trepidatious because there was one guy I borrowed a few years back and I was going to demonstrate some techniques or videos. And on the surface, he actually seemed really cool about it. So I was like, okay, that's great. We arranged a time and date. I picked him up, took him down to the training ground, and I was talking to him as we were going along about like the specifics of what I would have liked video-wise that day. And I remember him actually then becoming a little bit reserved about it. He's like, oh, you're not going to like throw me on the floor, are you? And it was like, no, I don't intend to. I mean, he was like, oh, okay, well, I don't want to be kicked. And again, you look and think, well, in terms of the videos that we're going to do, you will be kicked, but it won't be hard. It won't be maliciously. It won't be a kick which is going to cripple you and leave you hospitalized or anything like that. It'll probably just be enough just to like make contact, might push you back, but it's not going to hurt and it's not going to cause lasting damage. But this guy, I could tell, was not too happy about that. So then in my mind, I had to then think, oh, great, okay, so all these ideas I had just went straight out the window, and it was, okay, now I have to now do some new videos, which I had to now think up spur of the moment and get those out there. And as it turned out, I mean, he was cool with the latter stuff. When we got around to doing it, he was absolutely fine with it. And give him credit, he did stay around, and we did do quite a lot. But this was defense against kicks to the thighs. So what you could do as a defender, and it wasn't about grabs or anything like that. It was just counters that you could do if your opponent tried to kick you into the thigh. And it was great. We filmed quite a bit, and I was quite happy. He had, again, a very good quality camera, so I thought this is perfect footage. It was really just top-notch stuff, and I was really proud. At the end of the day, he sent it all over to me, but he sent it in a strange file, which I couldn't access. I had to have a password in order to access the file. I needed to go through checks or anything like that. And I've never heard of this kind of thing before. And I said to him, "Can't you just send it to me on WhatsApp?" For whatever reason, he wasn't able to do that. So that was a whole load of footage which we filmed, which was good considering, but I had to then change the plans at the very last moment. But I was unable to actually access it due to this strange firewall which was in place. So that was like a whole wasted experience. And I remember actually not getting angry about it. It never pays to get angry about stuff like that. It's not worth it. But I became a little bit, I'd say, a little bit crestfallen, or disappointed, saddened in a way, because I was like, oh well, now I've got to go out and do all that all over again. I've now got to find time in my schedule where I can actually go off and do that. And I knew if I asked the same person again, he would have probably not been up for it. To be honest, he would have just been okay. It was nice to have a one-off kind of thing doing it, but I don't want it to become a regular thing, which was fair enough. But then it left me thinking, oh god, now I've got to find somebody else. And it's weird because where I am at the moment, I suppose, in terms of Gemini and just my geographical location, there's nobody who I know who would actually be willing to actually kind of meet up and actually do stuff like that. Most of my martial arts contacts are outside of where I am. They live at various different parts of the country, but the ones who seem to be the most willing to do it seem to be the ones who live the most furthest afield. So trying to meet up with them to film stuff, especially if it's a film that you think, okay, it's only going to be like a not an all day kind of thing, then it kind of puts the challenge into your mind of thinking, is it worth traveling 4 hours to do an hour's worth of filming to get footage for like a 5-minute video? And again, you put that into perspective and you think, not really. When you think about like the costs of like the fuel, you've got to get up early. And that was stuff that, again, I've said this in numerous live streams before. I used to do like way back in the day, but it just doesn't interest me now. So I don't see that as a sacrifice worth doing. And especially now, like I said to you at the very beginning, I mean, my life is so busy now. This live stream was just very much impromptu. Wasn't planned or anything like that. I had a spare moment. So I was like, you know what? The whole day I've been doing business side of stuff. I've been doing admin side of things. I've got pretty heavy meetings tomorrow, which I have to attend. And this is kind of like my only downtime I'm going to have. And on top of that, actually, the rest of the week's going to be absolutely jam-packed as well. So I looked at it and thought, this is the only downtime I'm going to get. So I thought, just use it as a live stream. Use this maybe as a catharsis, which I'm under no illusions, which is what I'm actually doing. But that's just the busyness of how busy my life has been at the moment. And I appreciate like everybody says that, like, oh, I'm so busy. Believe you me, I've looked at the little free time I have now, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my god, I can actually just maybe spend an extra minute in bed, if that means that I just get like an extra minute to myself, for me to like ground myself, do some mindfulness, before I then jump into whatever I need to do. Because I know the moment I jump into what I need to do, bang, 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 the rest of the day is just going to be packed up. However, the plus side of that is that nothing comes from nothing. So you're reaping what you're sowing, and what you're doing now in terms of busyness is going to be rewarded later on. You're going to get results back. Whereas if you just sat around and actually did nothing, you're not going to get anything. And hence the proverb, nothing comes from nothing. It's really straightforward. I wouldn't even call it philosophical. I'd call it quite logically narrow-minded. The only time that a narrow mind will probably actually serve a purpose. The only time a narrow mind will actually serve a purpose is with that philosophy, I suppose. So that is that. Oh, what's this? Oh, no, I don't think I like that. So I have just a few extra screens up here, actually. So even so, yeah. I mean, the title of the live stream. I mean, as regular viewers to live streams know, live streams for me never seem to follow any sort of dogmatic formula. They always kind of like go off at a tangent at something, or whatever conversation comes up, we then pursue. So this one, even though it was wanting to having a title of, sorry, I'll get my words out. It has a title of something about the delusions of martial artists and stuff like that. But we've covered that so many times before. Yes, let's do it just once more for summary. Yes, the world of martial arts attracts some very weird people. Yes, you get some very, very strange people in martial arts. And some people say, well, why do you keep bringing this up? What's the purpose of it? If you already know it, why keep going over it like a broken record? And I feel it needs to be brought up because it is important. For myself, working in the mental health industry, it's important because it just naturally fascinates me. People keep talking about how traumatic experiences in childhood can not help, but traumatic experiences in childhood can shape how somebody is later on in life. Granted, yeah, I can't name studies off the top of my head, but look at most developmental psychological studies on that, and you'll find there's lots of evidence to support it. Yet, to my knowledge, not many people have actually done studies about the impact that martial arts has on people's psyche, whether they're children, whether they're adults. And this is where I have a personal interest in, because being in the martial arts world for as long as I have, I've seen some strange people, I've seen some strange things in martial arts. And the only way to explain them really is down to psychiatry, and to look at somebody's psychological makeup, or to think maybe it's an environmental influence, something quite sociological maybe has influenced somebody's psychological outlook on martial arts for them to become a bit of a whack job. Things like this. My lime is stuck at the bottom of the glass. But that's why I believe it's so important. Just being able to look at these kind of things. And because you get some wacky martial artists out there, and they say some really weird stuff. They say weird stuff. They do weird stuff. They say stuff like, oh, my instructor made me train in broken glass. No, he didn't. Why'd you say that? And then comes into that, somebody may say that because they feel bad about themselves, and they feel that by saying such things, they're hoping to create this image of being strong and tough and durable. And people then, they want people to look at them and think or feel or believe, wow, he's an amazing guy. Yet the question then, why would you feel the need for strangers, to look at you and think you're cool? Why do you feel the need to desire that type of admiration from total strangers? Because those people who know you, they don't need to hear you've trained on broken glass. They don't need to hear you're a descendant of Bruce Lee. They don't need to hear the fact that you are a first dan in Hapkido with an organization that doesn't even exist. People who know you don't need to know that. They know it's not true. So they don't need to hear that. They will, if they like you for who you are, not based on these wacky things that you say. So then, these people who say this kind of stuff must be saying it to people who don't know them, because they're wanting to get the admiration from people they don't know. And those type of people are called sycophants. When you're basically pandering to strangers, you feel that the esteem and the admiration of a stranger means more than the respect and the esteem and admiration of somebody who is close to you, somebody who you know, like a family member or a friend. So sycophants in martial arts, yeah, I've met my fair share of them on various different degrees. As I said, saying weird stuff and doing weird things. making strange YouTube channels, and I appreciate the irony of that because I've got a YouTube channel myself. But just giving their YouTube channels like strange, wacky names, doing weird podcasts with people who a lot of other people may not even know exist, to tell their story when their story may not be stuff that people want to hear, or if people want to hear it, it's like it's going to be full of strange, wacky adventures and experiences which never happened. They're not true. So that's why I believe it's important, because as a psychologist, as a psychiatrist, you can have a real field day in the world of martial arts. You can look at all sorts of things as well. You can look at like the demographics of people who do traditional martial arts in the West. And when you're doing psychological studies, a lot of it comes down to statistics, and you have to be careful about what kind of statistics you read, because there's so many variables. It could always be misinterpreted or misread in various different ways. However, if you're looking at that's why you need both quantitative and qualitative. You need both. But as an example, like you could narrow the study down to say, okay, what is the demographic of people in England who practice a form of karate? You could even minimize that down and say specifically Shotokan karate, or a part of England, London, or other regions, the southwest, maybe Yorkshire, maybe Lancashire, places like Nottinghamshire, these kind of places. And you'd find maybe that the majority of people who practice karate, any form of karate in England, are white, middle class men. And again, it's a generalization. It really is, but it mostly is. But then you, again, going back to statistics, you think, well, the majority of the population of England is, I believe, 85% white. So that statistic of most people doing martial arts, traditional martial arts, being white, shouldn't really come as a surprise. But then you can bring other statistics into it as well. Think, okay, well, look at martial arts, say, I don't know, boxing. The demographic for people doing boxing will be very different. You could have a martial art, I believe, like a lot of females are doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu these days. Again, generalization, but that could be a statistics in itself. Why is that? What is the draw of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu towards white women? What is the draw of boxing towards mostly people from working class? What is the draw of, say, Olympic Taekwondo to middle class families? You draw all these these studies. It'd be fascinating. It really would. And maybe one day, if I decide to do a master's degree, I'll do a study like that. I have to be careful not to kind of like be misleading my own personal prejudice, but whenever you do an experiment, you always have to be careful of bringing your own prejudice into the experiment. But as long as I do it professionally, I'll probably do something about that. Like, psychologically, where are martial artists at in the West? Because if you go to another country, say like Cuba or Mexico, the reasons why they get into martial arts are going to be significantly different. But then I for one, I don't know many Mexican people in my time. I've never been to Mexico, but you generally don't hear of Mexican people boasting about their abilities, whereas that seems to be very much a common thing in Europe and the United States, of these white middle class males who do traditional martial arts and boasting about those abilities. When I trained with some guy back in the day who said he trained on broken glass, he fitted that paradigm. He was the archetype of that white middle class male who did traditional martial arts, because he used to say stuff like that, and it was really, really weird. It was creepy. I didn't like it. It scared me for all the wrong reasons. It makes you, or certainly made me. I believe if I was to like go away and like finish martial arts, say tomorrow, hypothetically speaking, if I was to end my martial arts career tomorrow, and somebody was to say to me, "Okay, how would you summarize your whole experiences with martial arts in a word?" I mean, there's many words I could use, really, but I suppose I could say fun. I know it's not a word, but I'd say don't take it seriously. Just enjoy the journey, and as long as you're not taking it seriously, as long as you know you're not gonna be able to beat up every single person that you meet just because you've got a black belt, you'll be fine. And yeah, like I said, I appreciate that's not one word, but I suppose it's a lesson I kind of appreciate. But really, I mean, my martial experience, and I've said this quite a few times before, has generally been quite bad. I'd say this, I'd say it's pretty much been 50-50 down the line. There's been some amazingly good things which have happened to me because of martial arts. I've been able to travel to places I never would have believed I'd be able to travel to. Portugal, Canary Islands, Finland, Disneyland Paris, Poland, Tunisia, Sri Lanka, India, these kind of places, Qatar. I traveled all to these places, United States. I went to New York 10 years ago, all because of martial arts. So martial arts has been amazing in that regard. I've been able to do some stuff. I've looked back, and I was thinking the other day about my whole career, tournament career especially, and I was thinking it's amazing that anybody's been able to do this. And I took myself out of the equation. It's like it's not about me. Just if there was somebody who came up to me and I saw their resume had basically what I'd done on it, but it was for them, I'd still be like really impressed. Stuff like being in the largest taekwondo display in the world. That was 9 years ago now. Feels like yesterday. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff can come out of martial arts. It really can. Yeah, that being said, the polar opposite is equally true because a lot of my experiences from martial arts have been dark, and not just bad, not just negative, but dark, very very dark. Some of the people you meet can be absolutely amazing and awesome. Some of the people you meet can be downright nasty. And this is why I did a video a few years back saying like, do martial arts make you moral? I genuinely believe they don't. It's much like communism. Martial arts will espouse this doctrine or this hazy, vague belief that doing a martial art will make you a better person morally. No, I've not seen anything to make me think that. I believe people are moral because of social standards that they learn as children and they grow up. I believe people are moral maybe because of religion. I'm not religious myself, but if somebody is going to read from a scripture and they believe genuinely that if they're a nice person based on the scripture, they'll go to heaven and make life better for other people, then I'd say religion, even though I don't believe in it, is probably going to make you a better person than going to a taekwondo lesson. Why should martial arts make you better? Why? It doesn't. If anything, it just fosters arrogance. It fosters your ego in a very, very unhealthy way. Martial arts, like I said before earlier, and I've done many videos about this, but I believe martial arts helps people develop mental health conditions, narcissism, misplaced pride develops into a mental defect, perhaps antisocial personality disorder, EUPD. I've trained with many people, and I hate to say this, but actually many of the students I've had, both in Gemini and in other establishments I've been with, many students I've had have gone on to show evidence of having mental health conditions. And quite a few come to my mind, actually. I was thinking about one earlier today, and I look back now and think, my God, it was like I was actually training with somebody who could well be reasoned to have been a psychopath. So that's the dark side as well, and also what it does to your mind as well. Especially if you start as a kid and you're drip fed and told all of this stuff like contradictory kind of stuff. Your teacher could like spoon feed you to make you believe that you're amazing when you're not, and then you find out the hard way, and your life in martial arts comes crashing down. Or you may be good, but then your instructor never gives you the credit. They never give you the recognition, and you find yourself over the years becoming more and more resentful, and then realizing, actually, is this something I want to do anymore? Because whenever I look at this martial art now, I just feel badness and negativity. So that's where martial arts can be really, really bad for people, I believe. And martial arts is not going to save your life. You know, if somebody attacks you on the street and they have serious intent to cause you harm, they're going to be unpredictable. They're going to be not fighting or attacking you to ways which you may have been trained. And I feel that a lot of martial arts and traditional martial arts do their students a disservice by teaching prearranged forms and dogmas, which in reality are probably never gonna work. You could probably get mugged on average about, I'd say, well, on average, but let's say you get mugged twice in your life, and the amount you lose, provided you just hand over your wallet, your mugger just comes up to you and says, "Look, nothing against you, just give me your wallet." And what you probably lose from that wallet. Do you want to go? No, you want to stay? Yes, yes. Bye-bye. What you probably lose from those mugging encounters is going to be significantly financially less hard-hitting than all those years you've paid for martial arts self-defense tuition. So I did a short like a couple of years back now. It was just this gimmicky thing, but I said being mugged is more cost efficient than actually going to a karate lesson for a year. And I believe that's true. I believe that's true. So people could say, yeah, martial arts introduces fitness, which it does. Yeah, I'm not going to lie about that. And actually, yeah, I mean, one of the benefits, actually, I remember like when I was doing taekwondo as a kid, I loved the flexibility. Even now at my age, I'm still reasonably flexible. I'm more flexible than other males my age. But I could easily have learnt that flexibility and that fitness from doing another sport. Football, rugby, just going out and doing runs, which I'm so overdue to go for a run. Again, I don't even have time to go for a run. But doing stuff like that probably would have increased my fitness more than what martial arts would have done. So again, martial arts will help you with your fitness, but it won't necessarily make you fit, or it's not going to be the be all end all of fitness. You can easily learn fitness other ways as opposed to actually doing martial arts. So whereas I understand where the people are coming from, saying like martial arts will help with fitness, yeah, I get where you're coming from, but it's not necessarily the case. So then you have to ask yourself, like, what is martial arts good for in this day and age? What can it help with? And maybe this is a question I could actually put out on the community tab and see if people would be interested in maybe actually answering that kind of question, because sometimes I get tired of listening to my own voice as like an echo chamber. Sometimes it's nice to actually hear other people's opinions as well, because everybody's different. Everybody has a different outlook on life, and people interpret life differently based on their own experiences, or not even just their experiences, from their own prejudices, or how they believe life should be, and they'll start formulating their own opinions. So it's always nice to actually hear other people's opinions about this kind of stuff as well. What good do martial arts serve in today's day and age? I feel that'd be quite an interesting one, actually. One which yeah, actually, yeah, I was going to say, actually, I might actually do that. I believe there's scope for that to play around with. I really do. in terms of like dark topics as well, the reason I feel that I do a lot of dark topics when it comes to like doing community polls and what have you like that, or even just going ahead and just making videos, is because there is a lot of that darkness in martial arts. Um, People say stuff like, how can it help with your mental health? Whereas everything has an opposite. If you're going to take a yin yang principle and think, okay, well, yeah, what health benefits does martial arts have? What negative health benefits? Well, there's no benefit to negative health, but what negative health aspects does martial arts bring, maintain, and what can facilitate change if you want to take a therapeutic approach to that? And politics as well. Like people bring a lot of politics into martial arts, and you look at it and think, well, should the two mix? And I read something not too long ago. Somebody said like, if you have no experience in something, you shouldn't be talking about it. And you sometimes think, well, yeah, there is a name for that type of argument. But that being said, you're still allowed an opinion, even if you don't necessarily have any experience in something. Surely you're still allowed an opinion in it. And you could take politics as a prime example. Nobody who I know as an immediate associate acquaintance is involved in politics. And yet politics is one of those things that everybody has an opinion about. So even if you have no experience in it, it still affects you in some way, shape, or form, surely. And if that's the case, then surely you're entitled to have an opinion about that. That's, again, philosophical. Some people might say yes, some people might say no. Why would people in martial arts be involved in politics? Well, not necessarily involved, but why they feel the need to bring politics into their martial arts world. I've tried really hard over the years to actually keep politics out of my channel. The only times I talk about politics quite openly are on live streams. And actually, that's not entirely true, because when I say openly, a lot of the time it's not really open. I mean, I may say a few things which people may interpret and say that's quite suggestive of a left wing leaning opinion, or quite suggestive of a right wing leaning opinion, quite pro capitalist, quite pro socialist, maybe quite libertarian, maybe quite collectivist. But I would never come out and actually say like, yes, I support this, yes, I support that. I would never say stuff like, I'm going to vote for such and such a party, because it has no place on the channel's nature, which is martial arts. And admittedly, there are times when I do videos, like just little gimmicky things where it's not martial arts at all. But that's just quite harmless stuff. It's not meant to be something severe, or it's not meant to be something which is taken seriously. Like the Dark Jeet Kune Do. Or, as we have now, making sure I'm not going to knock over my lime, Jeet Kune Do X. So, what is Jeet Kune Do X? Now, it's a gimmick. I'm not expecting anybody to take Jeet Kune Do X seriously, much like Dark Jeet Kune Do, but I don't know. It just kind of like came to me one day. I was thinking like, where can I push this Dark Jeet Kune Do boat out even further? And did I even want to continue doing Dark Jeet Kune Do videos? Because where were they going, and were they getting a following? I know there's like one guy he became almost quite obsessed with Dark Jeet Kune Do in a jokey kind of way, I hope. But I remember looking and thinking like, I felt Dark Jeet Kune Do kind of like ran its course as a gimmick, as a joke, and it was time for Dark Jeet Kune Do to be put on the shelf and for something to come in and replace it. And I thought, okay, well, I could replace it. What was going through my mind actually was Choi Kwang Do. I was going to make this fake martial art called Choi Kwang Do Extreme, for Extreme Choi Kwang Do, which I still may do, just as a nod to all my Choi Kwang Do friends. But I thought about the Jeet Kune Do, and I was like, you know what? How about we have Jeet Kune Do X, and it had the stupid like X logo, and I was thinking, yeah, that could work. It'll be like Dark Jeet Kune Do, but a more extreme version of Dark Jeet Kune Do. So all the techniques and stuff will still be exactly the same. Well, Dark Jeet Kune Do doesn't have any techniques anyway; it doesn't even exist. But in the storyline, which I believe I made about Dark Jeet Kune Do, the story could be, I don't know. There was a Jeet Kune Do guy who did Dark Jeet Kune Do. He got to like the highest rank possible, 999th rank or something ridiculous. And then he morphed into like a giant slug or something, or a giant centipede. And along with him morphing or doing his metamorphosis, his powers went with him. And in the process of him changing, he absorbed the powers of the universe, the powers of X, whatever X is. I mean, X could be chi. Let's just say X is the power of the cosmos in the universe. And when Dark Jeet Kune Do guy got to 900 rank 999, he changed into Mr. X. He was all dressed up in leather, and he had like a leather hood and everything. He had leather gloves and leather boots, which came up to his thigh. And he absorbed the power of the universe, and a lot of the power as well was through space and time, through the space-time continuum or whatever. I'm not into physics. I'm not into astrophysics, but you see what I kind of mean. He absorbed the power of life, and in so doing, he created something new to add to the power of Dark Jeet Kune Do, and that power became Jeet Kune Do X. So that is the official storyline. That's the official narrative that we'll go with Jeet Kune Do X. So more videos of Jeet Kune Do X, which is just going to be a gimmick, are going to be coming around, and I'll find time with what little time I have. But I'll see if I can find some time to actually do some spoof videos of Jeet Kune Do X. Even if I need to just jump around my own living room dressed up as like a fool or a clown, and I'll get something together. But then the storyline for that could be that Jeet Kune Do X becomes so powerful, he needs to be stopped by a superhero. And that superhero could take the form of extreme Choi Kwang Do. So there's a guy who does the story of extreme Choi Kwang Do. Let's see if we can get something together here. It's a guy who does Choi Kwang Do, but he's so good at Choi Kwang Do, he can beat the founder of Choi Kwang Do in such a way that he actually then becomes like the god of not just Choi Kwang Do, but like Korean martial arts in general. And the UN is having trouble trying to contain Jeet Kune Do X, so they go to all these like militaries, but Jeet Kune Do X like destroys all of them. It like destroys NATO, destroys Mossad, um, destroys the EU, destroys China or the Chinese People's Army, destroys North Korea's army. So the only body left that the UN can go to is Extreme Choi Kwang Do. So Extreme Choi Kwang Do then dresses up like Superman or something, or Captain Underpants, wearing a cape, going tra la la, and he comes onto the scene, and he has to stop Jeet Kune Do X using Choi Kwang Do techniques, and only Choi Kwang Do techniques. He can't use anything else. He's not allowed to use like any other martial arts techniques. He's not allowed to, you know, use any sort of approved weapons of conventional warfare, or even a stick. He's not to pick up a stick or anything like that. He has to use purely Choi Kwang Do techniques, because if he is the extreme embodiment of everything that Choi Kwang Do is, you would expect him to be able to beat everything using his bent leg kicks and his bent arms and all this kind of malarkey, which I believe actually makes quite a good story, if I have to be honest. So I might start working on that. But then if I do videos on that, I'd have to be willing to get a partner. Somebody else can actually come and help me do all the filming, because I think actually that would be quite good fun. Yeah, I reckon that actually be quite a cool thing to do. Just meet up one rainy day, just get into Superman costumes and stuff, and just pretend to be superheroes for an afternoon. Somebody could dress up in BDSM gear and be Jeet Kune Do X, and the other person could dress up as a clown and be Extreme Choi Kwang Do. Sounds like a good way to spend an afternoon. Much better than sitting down like watching football on TV. I've never seen the appeal of that. So Choi Kwang Do X, and yeah, the story of Dark Jeet Kune Do versus Extreme. I'm trying to get my words right now. It's the story I created. I don't even know the characters. The story of Jeet Kune Do X versus Extreme Choi Kwang Do. Brilliant. I love it. I'll get drafting a script right away. But where can I get this script from? Let's go into Microsoft Word. Where's Microsoft Word? No, that's not Microsoft Word. Where am I going? No, that's not Microsoft Word. No, it's gone. I'll probably do that another time. Between all the busy lifestyle, I'll just start adding this. The thing is, I'll be so busy and focused on all this other stuff. The script for this will probably be absolutely atrocious. Cardboard characters, cardboard writings. We have to have a heroine as well. Yes. Extreme Choi Kwang Do has to save a heroine that Jeet Kune Do X is trying to imprison and torture. Just like Penfold from what's it called? Danger Mouse. Speaking of, let's see if actually we can find Danger Mouse. Danger Mouse intro? Not the old Danger Mouse, I'm talking about the new Danger Mouse. Let's see if we can find that. Danger Mouse. Oh, hang on. Is this Danger Mouse? 2015? Okay, let's listen to this one. Apparently the volume's completely off. Is this? Oh, I was actually kind of enjoying that. Hold on, let me see.